Sniping in XDefiant can be difficult. Whether it's the insane amount of flinch from any range or enemies bunny hopping around you, it can be frustrating. So today, I'm going to go over 6 tips to help you improve at sniping. Starting off with our first tip, and this is going to be one of the most important tips we go over in this video, this is the concept of centering. In case you don't know what this is when you make it so your crosshair is lined up to where enemies are most likely to be, whether that's at chest level or just predicting where enemies are most likely to be coming from. Keeping your crosshair on target is going to be half the battle. Other than that, you just have to aim in and shoot. Especially in XDefiant, the movement is honestly not too crazy to a point where you can drop shot, jump shot too crazy, so the elevations aren't changing too much. So staying at chest level is going to be super important, really with any gun, but definitely with sniping. Now, the second part of centering that I mentioned earlier is going to be a lot more important, especially when it comes to sniping. This is going to be not only keeping your crosshair on target, but your center dot. In XDefiant, you have a center dot in the middle of your screen at all times. When you aim in, your crosshair is going to be exactly where that center dot is, so take advantage of that, especially with sniping. Make it so that when you aim in, you don't have to move that left stick a whole lot more. If you can do the majority of your work before you even aim in, you are going to have a whole lot more success with sniping, so this is definitely one of the most important tips I can give you. Start to practice this and make sure you're paying attention to that center dot. Doing that will help you out a whole lot, not only with sniping, but with any gun. It can be a little bit difficult to get used to, but with our next tip, it should make it a lot easier. That being simply having the right sensitivity. I know, as simple as it may sound, having the right sensitivity will help you out so much, especially with sniping. There's one setting that a whole lot of people might not know about that definitely I would tune up, get into the range, test it out, see what you like with it. That being your ADS sensitivity multiplier, especially for the high zoom. The high zoom is going to be for your sniping scopes. I believe anything 4 times and above. I could be wrong. It might be 8 times and above, but definitely when you have the regular 12 times scope, the high zoom ADS sensitivity multiplier, adjusting that may help you out a whole lot. For me personally, I use a little bit of a faster sensitivity when I'm not aiming in, using a 55-55 with the linear response curve. But when I'm aiming in, I make sure to turn it down a little bit. So for that, on the high zoom, I have it at 0.75 and the low zoom 0.7. Really not too big of a difference there, but that's what I kept it at. Having it a little bit lower is definitely going to help you out, especially if you already have a fast sensitivity like me. Putting it down a little bit, super important. One good rule of thumb is making sure that you're making it as slow as possible while still being able to keep up with enemies even at their fastest speed. If an enemy's sprinting, you want to be able to keep up with them, but you don't want to be moving past them. So that's definitely what I like to go for. Keeping it slow, but not too slow. And of course, you can do this in MK2. This is also going to be important for you guys too. Make sure you're taking advantage. I did post a video not too long ago going over the settings a little bit more in detail, so if you want to check that video out, click the thing on the top right. But other than that, let's get straight into our next tip. Alright, for our next tip, this is going to be another extremely important one, arguably more important than centering. This being having good positioning. Now, going over exactly how to position yourself would be an entire video in itself, so if that's something you guys are curious in, definitely let me know down below. But for now, let's strictly focus on positioning with the sniper. Now, one of the most important things when it comes to positioning is going to be using all the information given to you, whether it's your minimap or your kill feed. Having that, especially with the sniper, is going to be super important. Especially looking at the kill feed, you can see all the way into enemy spawns. So if you can read the spawns, look at the kill feed, see when enemies are dying, you can look into the enemy spawn and just get a free kill, pissing off the enemy a whole lot. Trust me, I do it a lot, especially on maps like Dumbo, Pueblito, Noodleplex. There are a ton of maps in this game where once you read the spawns, you can just get kills right off the spawn. It is pretty insane. Another thing you should be taking advantage of, especially with the sniper, is going to be cutting the map. On every single map, there's at least one, maybe even more spots where if you just sit there, you can cut the entire map and just look across the entire point. So if the enemies cross that point, you are going to have a line of sight on them. Especially with the sniper, this is so powerful. This is a concept I've gone over in previous ranked videos, as using it in ranked is always super important, especially with regular guns, but with the sniper it is even easier, as you only have to hit 1 bullet compared to like 5, 6, even 7 shots on long range kills. With the sniper, you only have to hit that 1 bullet, so cutting the map is extremely easy. Obviously, you have to figure out where these spots are, so putting time into the game will definitely help you, but definitely keep an eye out as well. I'm going to be putting out a video covering all these spots, good angles, god spots, all that stuff. So if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Make sure to subscribe. Alright, and the last tip I have for when positioning with the sniper is going to be taking advantage of flank routes and shooting enemies in the side. Like I mentioned in the intro, and if you use sniping before, you already know, but the flinch in XDefiant sniping is absolutely insane. If you get hit once from any range, you will not hit the shot. I'm telling you right now, you will not do it. It is extremely hard. You have to pull down. You can practice it. It is something that you can learn, and I've gotten it down a little bit, but still, it is super inconsistent. You're better off trying to get that first shot advantage, shooting people in the side, shooting people in the back, or of course, just having good positioning and map awareness so you can just aim in before the enemies already are on your screen. Apparently, we will be seeing a change to the flinch in the future, where at range, it will be a little bit less flinch, but then at close range, we'll get the max flinch, which I think is a good change, but right now, obviously, it is still insane. So definitely make sure you take advantage of that, and especially against good players, if you face them straight up, more times than not, they're going to be able to able to hit you, and your shot is going to go all over the place. So make sure you're taking advantage of your positioning, shoot those enemies in the side. It is going to help you out a whole lot. For our next tip, I want to go over what to do in case you don't hit that first shot, as with the sniper, you are extremely vulnerable in case you don't hit that first shot. So in that situation, honestly, the most important thing you can do is just have good movement and a good air strafe. Other than that, unless you are behind the enemies and they're completely clueless and don't have a headset on so they can't hear the shot that just flew past them, they're most likely going to kill you. So making sure you take advantage of the movement while you're in between that cockback animation is extremely important. Jump on top of things, use that air strafe, whatever you have to do to make sure you can get a second shot off, just make sure to do it. For me personally, I'm a big fan of just using the air strafe, zigzagging a little bit here and there. It definitely pisses the enemies off. Against a good player, it's not as effective, but against a little bit of a less skilled player, it is super good. Like I said, our last tip also ties into this. If you're behind enemies and you have good positioning, sometimes you'll be able to get multiple shots off before they even turn around. Some people, they're just blasting their music, they're just having a good time, not really paying attention to what's going on. So if you can get behind them, shoot them in the side, shoot them in the back, obviously you're going to be able to get more than one shot off as well. Alright, for our next tip with sniping, this is going to be making sure that you have the correct class on. Obviously with snipers, they aim in extremely slow, so putting on some attachments to make them aim in a little bit faster is always going to be extremely useful. In XDefiant, my go-tos are always putting on the lightweight barrel and the quick draw rear grip. These two are going to give you a nice increase to your ADS speed. Definitely make sure you're using those. Other than those two attachments, the only other way to get a faster ADS speed with snipers is putting on the 4 to 8 times scope, but if you use that, you're not using a sniper anymore, and I don't respect you. I'm just saying, use the 12 times scope or even the 8 times scope, even though when you aim down sights with that thing, the reticle is ugly as hell. I don't know how people use that thing, but I'm telling you, just use the 12 times scope. It's a real sniper. I'm sorry for going on that tangent. Let's keep moving on. Other than that, some attachments I would recommend for snipers when playing a public match is, personally, I like the extended mag. I know it does give you a little bit of a negative to your movement speed, but having 8 bullets instead of 5 is always extremely nice. Obviously, it's going to allow you to hit a lot more clips, so personally, I like to use that. And then for my last attachment, I'm still trying to have as much fun as possible with the sniper, so lately, I've been using the fluted muzzle. The negatives, honestly, they're not too crazy. They give you a little bit negative for your sprint out time and your ADS ability, but getting a better hip fire, it's a lot of fun. Hitting some no-scopes with the sniper, it's the best feeling in the game. Something I would try to stay away from adding too many negatives on is going to be adding negatives to your ADS stability. This is going to make it so that when you aim in, you have a ton of idle sway, so that your reticle is going to be aiming in all over the place, even when you're not moving your left stick. Obviously with the sniper, this is going to be super noticeable, so try to stay away from that. The quick draw grip and the fluted muzzle do add a little bit, but if you were to add on the lightweight stock, that's going to add another 20% or maybe 10%. Definitely don't go that far. The quick draw grip is honestly enough. If you want to have some fun, go ahead and throw on the fluted muzzle, but other than that, stick with those two and you are good to go. In case you guys are curious for my own personal class setups, I'll throw up all classes for the snipers on screen now. Check those out, see what you guys like about them, and let me know down below which of the snipers are your favorite. Personally, it's gotta be that 115. That gun is just so smooth. Alright, but getting into our next tip, this one's gonna be used a little bit less often, but still extremely useful. That being taking advantage of off angles. This ties back a little bit to what I was talking about earlier with positioning when you cut the map, but in Search and Destroy, there's little angles you can hold where you really can't see much, but the enemies, they're definitely not going to see you. Take advantage of those, man, especially in Search and Destroy when it's a one life mode. All you gotta do is get the kill. Obviously, if you played Rainbow Six Siege before, CSGO, Valorant, any of these games where you're holding off angles, little creddy angles, it is super good, especially with a sniper. Make sure to take advantage. Like I said, I'm gonna cover all these spots in the video itself, but you can just run around the map yourself and you can find spots with ease, man. Especially with a sniper, just aim down sights and just find these weird angles. I'm telling you, enemies, they will always be caught off guard. You can do this in respawn game modes, but obviously it's gonna be a lot more useful in Search, and honestly, in respawn, it's gonna look down upon a little bit. You're gonna get caught a Warzone kid, you're gonna get caught a camper, just only in Search and Destroy. Alright, for our last tip, I have a few general tips that honestly don't need too much explanation, so I just grouped them together. The first one being Echelon is the best faction for snipers. The invis is extremely useful. Obviously, you can still see the glint when you're invis, but the invis itself, definitely my go-to faction when I'm sniping. Unless you're using the M44, which if you're willingly using the M44, please check yourself into a mental hospital, but if you are using that gun, definitely make sure to use the cleaners. With the cleaners paired with the M44, getting a shot to the upper body will still get that one-shot kill just with the fire damage, so having that on, extremely useful. When it comes to my favorite modes when using a sniper rifle, for me at least, it's gotta be TDM and also Escort. Escort is an extremely good mode. Obviously, you know where the spawns are, so it's really easy to predict where enemies are coming from. You can get some crazy clips with the sniper. And TDM, honestly, is pretty simple, it's pretty basic. For some reason, I find a lot of success with the sniper. And then the last tip I have for you guys is your secondary. For me personally, I'm a big fan of the sawed-off shotgun. For the close range, obviously the snipers, they're not that great, so having the sawed-off shotgun is super nice. And then of course, if you get a hit marker, whipping out to that sawed-off shotgun, finishing off that kill, it is really nice. Other than that though, guys, that is pretty much every single tip I have for sniping XDefiant. If you think I missed anything, definitely let me know down below. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed and were able to learn something. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Later. And of course, huge shout out to our tier 1 channel members, Gabriel, Calvin, and Dex. Love you guys.